We're back with another reflection on the daily Vedantic. As ignorance goes, so does agitation. This was a line from the lecture from this morning that anybody can tune into with the app from the ashram that we all study with here in Venice Vedanta Club or around the globe for people that listen to the podcast and take that next step to either this book that I touched on last episode, written by the master, a true master, because this is just an on-ramp to either this book, this entire podcast project. The goal is 10, 20, 30 episodes in to get you to the real deal, which is something like Vedanta Treatise, or it is by Swami Parthasarathi, or into the daily lectures that are just from the ashram. It's insane that you can tune into them from the comfort of your couch or the device in your pocket. And the lecture today is just this knowledge bomb. As ignorance goes, so does agitation. When we think about all of the agitation in our lives, the major ones, a job search, first-time parent, starting a startup. The first time I started a startup, my goodness, it was my first 3 startups, my 20s, just failure after failure after failure. And I remember each time being like, why did I start this? What was I thinking? I had it so good. As Ramana Maharshi would say, we're all born in the shade. Why do we go out and get burned? And it was total ego engineering in my 20s. I was like, I'm going to take and it was honestly shortcutting. It's like, I'm going to make a financial return in 5 years that would have otherwise taken me 20 or 30. I'm going to go outside the system. I'm going to be my own boss. And good God, did I pay the price for trying to shortcut. So hilarious. I'm 39 now, and I'm just now kind of doing the math that I'm probably doing it financially what I would have done if I just worked for someone else for 17 years. And in my 20s, at least, a lot less stress, because it was so just like, I'm going to serve my own ego. Ego engineering, financial engineering, it was not service. And it was a whole lot of ignorance on how to build companies. And then my 30s come along and a decade of experience, now 17 years of building things and running multiple companies. And I don't feel any agitation from them. I feel some agitation here and there, maybe once a week on interpersonal aspects, different partners, people that we sponsor, or customer, people that we sponsor writing in like, hey, you didn't do this, or just expecting more from us and we have to negotiate, or it is, a customer has a really bad experience with the product. And I feel that. I still feel that bit of agitation. And it lasts about 5, 10, 15 minutes. But as I built more expertise, it became 15 minutes a week versus sleepless nights for years at a time when I was completely ignorant. It's like learning to surf. When you're learning, my God, it is so humbling, so hard, so exhausting, so unsatisfying. Where there is ignorance, as ignorance goes, so does agitation. Our ignorance on the problems that we create interpersonally with friends or family, ignorance that we're creating them over and over and over again. It is just inevitable. This wheel of agitation will continue. Ups and downs, recreating the same story over and over and over again until we grow in our awareness and overcome that ignorance. And it was one hell of a knowledge bomb this morning to reflect on the fact that in so much of our lives, so many of our lives, it's the ignorance that we have in any field or about ourselves that leads to so much agitation in our days and in our lives. Specifically, most importantly, ignorance of ourselves. Like I mentioned in the interpersonal relationship side of things, ignorance on, wow, I'm creating this story over and over and over again that maybe until you're 36, you don't even realize there's a pattern, that it happens over and over and over again. And when you're 16 or 26, you're just so convinced it's other people, it's other people, it's other people. And then maybe at 48, you get to your third divorce and 2 kids that are not going to live their lives with separated parents. And maybe at the third divorce, you finally can't believe the illusion anymore that it's just other people. But what if you could avoid that? All of that heartache and pain. Friends that have gone through divorce, it's, my God, if you could help people avoid that. And it comes back to awareness of ourselves. There is the awareness of ourselves to avoid these massive mistakes, to avoid situations that might be so avoidable with just a little more clarity. Yesterday, or the last episode was actually on philosophy is clarity. The cultivation of our clarity, seeing things clearly. There isn't anything more important than that work. And seeing ourselves clearly. One part is to avoid massive mistakes. Swami will mention in other lectures that Shakespearean tragedies so often come down to one mistake, and then everybody's dead at the end. One thought of, I should be king, and then everybody's dead at the end of the play. So there should not be any delusion to how costly one massive mistake in life can be. And there is that side of things for growing our awareness to avoid those mistakes, but even more powerfully, it's growing our awareness to eliminate our agitations, eliminate our mistakes for sure, but also provide for ourselves and our community the fruits from our capacities. Socrates has this great quote of what a shame it is for a man to reach the end of his life, never having realized the capacity of the human body. And I would tweak that. I think I mentioned this in an episode 2 or 3 weeks ago. I would tweak that to say, what a shame it is for anyone to reach the end of their lives, never having reached the capacity of their intellects, their minds, and their bodies. To reach the end of your life, never having reached your capacity. So it's not just avoiding mistakes or avoiding agitation. It's with clarity, with overcoming our ignorance of ourselves, of who we really are, what we're capable of. There is no greater adventure, no greater fulfillment, and no greater service to others than ridding ourselves of that ignorance of who we are and what we're capable of. Yesterday's episode was on the practicality of clarity, of philosophy, providing you clarity in every scenario. Today is a bit on the aspirational side of what's possible when we devote our time to developing clarity. Aristotle has that great quote of cultivation of one's character is the most important work we do. This philosophy takes that and says, yes, cultivation of character is extremely important, but the most important work we do is the work we do on ourselves, not just to cultivate our character, but to discover what we're capable of. There is no greater work. As I mentioned, there is no greater adventure, no greater fulfillment, no greater service. And it all comes down to overcoming the ignorance that stems from these ideas of, oh, I know who I am. Stems from these ideas of, well, I know that I'm right. Oh, I know what's real, what's not. these two enemies, these words, I know. That is the hallmark, not of wisdom, but that is the hallmark of ignorance. As I say often, just imagine the 8-year-old that's saying, oh, I know. And you look at them from above, from an elevated perspective, and you're like, you not only don't know, but my God, you have no idea. And you have no idea the cost of saying, I know, to someone that might be able to shed a little bit of light, provide a little bit of guidance. And as the phrase goes, the adult is to the sage as the child is to the adult. So much of the time we're doing the same thing. I know. Just convinced we know what's going on. Mired in ignorance, completely mired in ignorance. And so often certain that we're seeing things clearly. But here's the test. Are you agitated? Do you get agitated over and over and over again in the course of a day or a week? Every time I get agitated by something going wrong, business, or yesterday, a investor texted me, said, you have a few minutes to chat? And I'm like, oh shit, what is this going to be about? And for like 15 minutes, I'm like, he's not picking up when I just gave him a call. What is this going to be about? And thinking like, it could be this. Ended up being nothing. A complete, just nothing burger. Nothing. Just asking if I could ship him some Magic Mind. And I thought about, wow, there's agitation from that feeling like I need things to go a certain way with investors or relationships. For me to not feel agitated. I jotted down, what if it went completely south with this relationship? Completely south with investors? Would I be okay? It turns out I was able to imagine that scenario and imagine being very okay. But an hour prior, I couldn't. I kind of needed that relationship to go well. And was agitated for 15 minutes. And then with today's lecture and jotting down that knowledge bomb of as ignorance goes, so does agitation, just realized, man, I've got work to do on the awareness front. And it's a great litmus test. If you feel agitation, that's an area where there's more to be discovered, more awareness to be cultivated, where ignorance is just sitting perhaps in plain sight. And a life that's filled with agitation, you can bet the farm is a life that's filled with ignorance, with a lack of cultivating awareness, clarity. And the best way to cultivate that awareness? Daily study and reflection. Not a few times here and there, a few times a month, not a binge for a day and then you're away from it for 3 months at a time. It's daily reiteration of these timeless concepts. Not only will ignorance retreat, but so will agitation. That's today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.